We have a magnificent first responder force in this state. We really do. Our police, our fire, our emergency management personnel is second to none. We want to make sure you have the training you need, and that will make this state the most trained, most ready state in the country.
Morning, everyone. My pleasure to introduce myself. I'm John Melville. I'm the Commissioner for the Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services and one of your hosts today. Before we get started with the program, I would ask that everyone just please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is in the corner over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. People from all across the state, all disciplines, professions, electeds are gathered here today on a beautiful August day to do some very important work. And it's important that we do it in August on a nice sunny day, because when we do have issues, disasters, man-made or natural, it's not the time to have these planning sessions. So I welcome you to Governor Cuomo's Emergency Planning Summit, and I thank you all for taking the time to be here today. I would like to just acknowledge some people that have taken the time out of their day to be here today, and we're happy you're here, and I appreciate your attendance, and it adds to the importance of this event. If you could just, as I name you, acknowledge yourself as Mayor of Westfield, Michael Vandeveld. Thank you, Michael. Deputy Director of Operations, one of my bosses, Joe Rubito. Deputy Director of Operations, Matt Millay. Another one of my bosses. I have a lot of them. Deputy Secretary for Public Safety, Terrence O'Leary. The Director of Office of the Aging, Corinda Crossdale. The Interim Director, the Governor's Office of Employee Relations, Michael Valforte. Thank you, Michael. Acting Commissioner of DMV, a longtime friend of mine, Terry Egan. See you, Terry. President and CEO of NYSERDA, John Rhodes. Thank you, John. Acting Commissioner of the Department of Labor, Mario Mussolino. I don't see Mario, but I think he's here. Commissioner of Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, Samuel Roberts. Acting Commissioner of the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, Tony Annucci. And the Acting Interim Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, Lisa Bova-Hyatt. Thank you, Lisa. What I'd like to do at this juncture for everyone in attendance is just have the people at the table go around and briefly introduce themselves, tell us where they're from. And I'd like to start with the man on my right. Is a good friend of mine. Ironically, I used to think that I was his right-hand man. I did a career in the state police prior to coming to this position, and he's a good friend and a wonderful leader of, I think, probably the premier law enforcement agency in the world, Superintendent Joseph D'Amico.
Thank you, John. I think the truth is, in emergency response, I'd be your right-hand man. We're proud to call ourselves partners of DISH's. Over the last 4.5 years since I've been superintendent, so many snowstorms, floods, hurricanes, we've stood together with so many agencies in this room. And I just want to underscore why we're here today. Preparation, planning, training, so important so that we get it right. Every time we go through one of these things, we do the after action and say we got to make sure we're so much more prepared for next time. So I just hope everyone enjoys their day here.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Good morning. Sally Dreslin, the Executive Deputy Commissioner at the New York State Department of Health. Thank you.
Yes, hi, Bob Magna, Executive Director of the Thruway Authority.
Good morning. Audrey Zibelman, Chair of the Public Service Commission. Good morning. I'm Rose Harvey. I'm Commissioner of Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation.
Good morning. Dave Herrick, Director of the State Park Police.
Good morning. I'm Bill Farabee, Supervisor for the Town of Keene and Chairman of the Board of Essex County Supervisors.
Good morning. I'm Bill Farber. I'm Chairman of the Hamilton County Board of Supervisors.
Tom Remmert, Emergency Manager of Albany County, and welcome everyone to Albany.
Good morning, Robert Kuhn, Cattaraugus County EMS Coordinator.
Good morning, Neil Rivenberg, Deputy Director of Emergency Services, Cayuga County.
Good morning, Julius Leone from Chautauqua County, Director of Emergency Services.
Good morning, Mark Sikora, Emergency Manager, Director, Chemung County.
Bill Black, Emergency Manager, Columbia County.
Dana Smith, Dutchess County Department of Emergency Response Commissioner.
Good morning, Maria White, Deputy County Executive in Erie County.
Good morning, Donna Cassane, County Manager, Franklin County.
Good morning, Steve Santa Maria, Fulton County Emergency Management Director.
Good morning, John Farrell, Greene County Emergency Management and Director of Emergency Services.
Good morning, Don Purdy, Hamilton County Director of Emergency Services.
Good morning, Robert Vandewalker, Herkimer County Director of Emergency Services.
Good morning, Bob McKenzie, Director of Fire and Emergency Management, Lewis County.
Good morning, Kevin Niedermeyer, Director of Emergency Management, Livingston County, and President of the New York State Emergency Managers Association.
Ted Halpin, Madison County Emergency Management.
Good morning, Fred Ryan, Emergency Manager, Monroe County.
Good morning, Director of Emergency Services, Montgomery County, Jeff Smith.
Morning, Gerald Peterson, Deputy Director of Emergency Services for Oneida County.
Good morning, Jerry McCarty, Director of Emergency Management for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey.
Dan Weirs, Onondaga County Commissioner of Emergency Management.
Good morning, Dale Banker, Orleans County Emergency Manager, Fire Coordinator.
Good morning, John Barattini, EMS Coordinator, Oswego County.
Good morning, Kelly Paslow, Director of Public Safety, Emergency Management, Rensselaer County.
Good morning, Mark LaViolet, Director of Emergency Management, Schenectady County.
Good morning, Bill Kennedy, Director of Emergency Management, Schuyler County.
Good morning, Ken Ferenz, Deputy Director, Steuben County Emergency Services.
Good morning, Ruth Doyle from St. Lawrence County.
Good morning, Joe Williams, the Commissioner of Suffolk County Fire Rescue.
Good morning, Richard Martinkovic. I'm Commissioner of Public Safety for Sullivan County and President of New York State Fire Coordinators.
Good morning, Renee Fox, Deputy Director of Emergency Preparedness, Tioga County.
Good morning, Jessica Verfus, Assistant Director of Fire and Emergency Management, Tompkins County.
Good morning, Michael Gaffney, Deputy Director, Ulster County Emergency Management.
Good morning, Brian LaFleur, Director, Fire Coordinator, Office of Emergency Services, Warren County.
Good morning, Tim Hardy, Deputy Director of Public Safety, Washington County.
George Bastido, Director of Emergency Management, Wayne County.
Good morning, Jennifer Waka, Westchester County Department of Emergency Services, Deputy Commissioner.
Good morning, Anthony Santoro, Director of Fire and Emergency Management, Wyoming County.
Good morning, Brian Winslow, Yates County Emergency Services.
Ed Mangano, Nassau County Executive.
Mike Tavo, Chairman, Lewis County Legislators.
Steve Rotolo, Chief of Counterterrorism and Special Operations, Port Authority Police.
Mike Cohn, Chief of Department, MTA Police.
Brian Stevens, State Fire Administrator, New York State Office of Fire Prevention and Control.
Major Joe Schneider, Acting Director, Divisional Law Enforcement, DEC Police.
Good morning. Mark Gerstmann, Acting Commissioner, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation.
Matt Driscoll, Commissioner, Department of Transportation.
Roanne DeStito, Commissioner of Office of General Services.
Pat Murphy, I'm an American soldier. I'm the Commissioner of Division of Military and Naval Affairs, and I command the New York National Guard.
Kevin Wisely, Deputy Commissioner, Division of Homeland Security Emergency Services, and Director of the Office of Emergency Management.
Thank you, everyone, again, for being here, but really more importantly, thank you for what you do every day to help us prepare, help New Yorkers prepare, respond, and recover in troubled times. And really, that's what we're here for today, to discuss that and hopefully improve on things. And at this juncture, it gives me great pleasure to introduce really the man behind the curtain for all of us. He is the Director of State Operations. He's got a tough job. He gives us all a lot of support, but I'd like to introduce Jim Melantris, Director of State Operations.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Commissioner Melville. The man behind the curtain sounds slightly menacing. I don't look that menacing, I hope. Thank you for all being here. I feel much safer here today than I've ever felt in Albany with all of you here, so thank you. On behalf of Governor Cuomo, thank you. We find this to be one of the most important things that we do in state government, which is emergency response. And sadly, as we all know, sitting in this room, extreme weather is sort of the new normal. It used to be you had 100-year storms every 100 years. Now we're getting them every 2 years, and it needs a concentrated and overwhelming response from Lee to Irene, and as, of course we all know, Sandy. We have many people like County Executive Mangano and others who were part of that intensive effort. And most recently, many of us were in Buffalo, and the governor was heartened by the overwhelming response from local emergency responders all across the state, from Long Island to Ulster to Essex County. They all came to Buffalo to help. Literally, there was a wall of snow, more than 8 feet of snow in Buffalo. And let us not forget, we also face emergencies that require immediate response, from train derailments. Even as late as yesterday, there was an unfortunate loss of life with a plane crash in Bethpage. So you're constantly on the job. There are no off days for you folks here. The intensity of storms, the amount of emergencies has made us rethink how we prepare and respond. And under Governor Cuomo's leadership, we have acted aggressively to strengthen our preparedness and response efforts. And I just want to talk about them, a couple of the efforts that we've been doing here as a state before I turn it over to Director Wisely. First, and most importantly, we have strategic equipment stockpiles now all across the state. The state can monitor in real time what assets that we have, where we deploy our assets, and how those assets are being used, so we can better respond in an emergency situation. After Sandy, there was a loss of power, therefore a loss of the ability for folks to get gasoline and other fuels. So we have now strategic fuel reserves and generator hookups all across the state at gas stations on Long Island and upstate New York. Third, energy hardening is a key component. In many storms, you lose powers. Our system largely is on poles. Strong winds come, the power goes away. We're doing microgrids, which is basically self-sustaining, smaller energy generating capacity. We have 19 in the state right now, with more than 80 on their way. So if there is a strong storm, we're not reliant solely on the major utilities. There's other sources to generate our electricity to better respond to emergencies. Fourth, training, something that the state didn't do as much before Governor Cuomo took office, but we began training and certifying local emergency response officials. Many of you came in 2013. Everyone in the state, all of our state emergency responders from OGS to DOT has also taken the training, so we can better coordinate and better respond together. Fifth, and I see some of the folks here today from the University of Albany, you should talk to them. We're really excited by the first in this nation dedicated college to emergency preparedness and response at the University of Albany. It is underway now, and I believe programs begin next year, but I'll have to check on that. But it's truly an exciting venture. No other state in the nation has such a school, a college solely dedicated to emergency preparedness and response. And today we're outlining New York Storm. It's a transformational approach to statewide disaster response and recovery. And the most critical piece of this part of New York Storm is New York Responds. And Director Kevin Wisely from OEM now will take us through that. Kevin, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today to talk about this very exciting initiatives that we've been working on here in the state of New York for the most of 2015. Governor Cuomo and his leadership has provided us guidance on the direction that we want to take emergency management and emergency preparedness throughout the state of New York. And we have some exciting things to talk to you about at a high level today. New York Storm advances two key emergency response initiatives. We're really looking at enhancing our state emergency response protocol and training. Many of you are here for our emergency management certification and training program this week. We're going to continue to enhance that and update and build on some of the good work that's been done over the last couple of years, and we'll talk about that. Another big part of our emergency response initiatives, our STORM initiative, as we've referred to it, is New York Responds, an online incident management system with state-of-the-art weather forecasting, asset tracking, and enhanced communications. Exciting things that we'll all be able to network and communicate and work together with. So let's talk a little bit about the enhanced state emergency response protocol and training and how we go about responding. More New Yorkers are trained for emergency preparedness than at any other time in our history. Today we've trained up to 61,000 New Yorkers on citizen preparedness. And that's an imperative course and program that all of our citizens should partake in so that they're prepared, so that we can better respond and better recover from the multitude of disasters and emergencies that Director Malatras just articulated. It's a positive thing, and we should all encourage our folks to continue to take those programs. That's an impressive number. 1,500 county and local officials have been trained by the Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services in regards to response protocols and understanding disaster declarations and emergency management 101 from our Tier 1 training, which is today with our county executives and emergency managers, and our Tier 2 training, which is the balance of the week for our county emergency managers and their deputies, and even out into the field training, which we call our Tier 3 training, with the local public safety responders, the fire chiefs and the police chiefs and the ambulance directors, all of us who work together in responding to emergencies. However, with all of that said, and given the severity and the frequency of these major events that we experience here in New York State, it's time for our response protocols to evolve into the 21st century. We need to work more cooperatively. We have ongoing threats, ongoing weather events that happen more often that we need to be better prepared for and better capable of responding together to deal with. One of the things we're announcing today is our playbook that we've for outlining these protocols. Our New York State Executive Multi-Agency Coordinating Group Forward Operations Plan. This plan is going to walk us through how we operate not only in state government when we move forward into a community to assist you, but how we interact with one another, how we interact with the Emergency Operations Center in Albany, how we interact with the Emergency Operations Center in a locality. And these are all things that we'll talk about as we go through our training and advance some of these training protocols more in depth. Those of you that will be here for the training tomorrow, we'll be talking more in depth about this stuff as we enhance our posture in responding to emergencies. We're going to establish clear lines of communications and authority between state and local emergency responders, because that's key, so that we all understand our roles and responsibilities, how we're going to work together, how it all comes together to effectively respond to our communities. Emergency management certification and training is going to be revised to reflect these new protocols. As I mentioned, tomorrow's session, those of you that get to hear me speak again tomorrow, we'll talk more in depth about these protocols and these response initiatives and how we do that. And we'll continue to talk about this and retrain our emergency managers and our local elected officials through our sessions when we do Capital for a Day or the Regional Emergency Managers Association's meetings. We'll be out there and talking about that, again, working together to build on some really good work that all of you folks have done over these last number of years during all these emergencies. Training is going to include, analyzing the severity of an incident. And a lot of this that we're going to talk about is stuff that you folks already know. But it's looking at it in a more coordinated, a more sophisticated fashion on how what we do, what we analyze, how it feeds into what is necessary to better serve our communities and better serve the citizens. We're going to raising awareness of the roles and responsibilities based on that severity of an incident. Who does what during types of incidents, whether it's a non-routine, a routine, or a major incident. Many of the incidents you folks handle day in and day out. Jim mentioned the unfortunate event in Nassau County yesterday with the aircraft going down on the Long Island Railroad. These things happen day in and day out for us. Understanding the situation and need before making requests. We really want to hone in on having better situational awareness of what's going on in a community. What is the need that you really are asking for assistance for, rather than just talking about equipment, let's talk about what actually is going on, what do we need to do. We're going to talk about conducting better community assessments to better understand the capabilities versus our local capacity. What can we do to deal with a particular situation? And all of our communities are a little bit different. We all need to work together and enhance some of the response postures that we have so that we can effectively handle situations that occur in our communities. But the bigger part, and even the more exciting part of our initiatives that we've been talking about, is New York Responds, a state-of-the-art online incident management system with enhanced weather forecasting, asset tracking, and communications. Currently, state and local governments don't all use a common platform, online platform, to coordinate emergency response. Approximately 11 counties are currently connected to the state through Disasterland. There's 12 counties in the state that have different systems that they utilize. And 39 counties that don't really use any formal system. They may have their own homegrown system, their Access database, or their Excel spreadsheets that they utilize to track. What we want to do is to provide a mechanism for us to all be coordinated. Moreover, the current state system that we're utilizing is a bit antiquated and doesn't include some of the modern technological advances necessary to respond to the events that we deal with day in and day out and advance to when it comes to a major emergency. Therefore, today we are announcing an overhauled state-of-the-art emergency management system called New York Responds. It's going to be a single, unified online electronic system that will connect every locality across the state of New York so that we can work cooperatively, that we can feed in information that's necessary to deal with a particular incident, and that we can prioritize and assist you, especially when, as you've all seen and experienced across Lee and Irene and Sandy and some of the other storms that we have, they're not necessarily focused on one particular county. Sometimes that's easier for us when we have just one locality that we can deal with. But oftentimes it's 14, 15, 16 counties that are under emergency situations that we need to be able to work together and cooperatively so that we can effectively manage the situation. So New York Responds. It's going to be a sophisticated asset management system so that we can keep track of the assets that we have and utilize. We've been building that into our systems here at the state level. Our Department of Transportation, our Division of Military and Naval Affairs utilize the system and track their assets. It's a tool that will be able to allow you as a local entity to track your assets, to have an understanding of what you have in your communities and what you can do day in and day out, and then understand, be better informed to request the assistance that's necessary to do a specific task. Detailed local requests for assistance. We're going to be looking for the system to glean more information, more situational awareness as to what's going on, rather than just putting in a request for a particular asset. We're really not looking for us to just routinely put in a request for equipment without it being informed, without having the information. More detailed event information to respond to the incident. This is so that we can better serve the communities, better manage the resources that we have available to us locally and at the state level, and then if we have to, even advance it up to the federal level when we bring in federal resources once we exhaust our ability to handle a particular emergency. We're going to have state-of-the-art weather detection, some really exciting work that's going on that Governor Cuomo has advanced and talked about over this last year. It's going to come to fruition sooner rather than later, where we're going to have better information as to what's going on, understanding precipitation levels, and how that'll feed into some other modeling types of information. We're looking to do enhanced communications with New York Responds. We've been working in the fire service, emergency management, EMS services all know that we've been working very diligently over these last few years on interoperability when we're on the scenes of emergency. We want to continue to enhance that ability to communicate, not only at the incident level, but also between emergency operations centers, with elected officials, with state emergency operations centers. We want to continue to enhance that communication mechanism. New York Response is going to be able to monitor and record all relevant activities for 24 hours a day. We utilize it. Many of you are familiar with our Office of Emergency Management Watch Center. It's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year center that is gaining situational awareness and monitors activity in the state of New York day in and day out. This tool will enhance that ability to better inform not only us at the state level, but to provide information to you folks at the local level to be able to understand what's going on. We also have the capability and the ability to mass notify citizens in an emergency. Many of us are utilizing, we've been utilizing New York Alert. We continue to enhance that. We have the federal system, iPause, which is also a notification system. New York Response is going to be able to maximize that technology to be able to better mass notify our citizens in times of emergencies, in times of disasters. New York Response is really going to provide what we call four key tools to emergency management. Incident tracking, be able to create a new incident at the county level to start to let us know what's going on, inform the situation. Provide a common operating picture, be able to see and visualize on a map, on a GIS-fed map, what's going on in the state of New York, what's happening, what might I be expecting. Somebody, Fred Ryan in Monroe County, can log on and see what's happening in Erie County, and that may be an indicator that the storm is coming across, one of those throughway storms. Help informing Director Ryan better on what he needs to do to start being prepared as we see what's happening before him, things of that nature. New York Response will provide situation reports, updated reports, again, not only what's happening in your community, but what's happening at the state level, but what we can do to inform and keep you up to date. A repository for our Office of Emergency Management daily briefs. Many of you get our daily brief every morning. We have updated information that we track throughout the day. This system will be it'll be easy access for you to bring up that information at any time during the day as you're working through your Emergency Operations Center, or if it's just day-to-day information that you're looking to understand and ascertain. New York Response will overhaul the way that the state collects and uses information from local governments to better respond to emergencies. What do you have? What operational posture do you have in your communities that's going to help us better inform? Are you a community that needs a certain type of equipment more than other types of equipment, just based on your location, your topography, how weather events impact you? All that information helps us better inform, better serve our communities. Of course, all of this and all of these systems, all this technological advancement is only as good as the people who use it. We have to work together. We have to do this cooperatively if we are going to be 100% effective. And we have made great strides, make no bones about it. Everyone has been doing great work here in the state of New York over these last few years. It's time for us to take that next step, to enhance what we're doing. Every New York responder must understand the process of incident response, and you folks at the emergency management level and the fire service level understand that. But we want to talk through further incidents and what an incident is, something that occurs that wasn't planned for, but really what an emergency incident is. That situation that poses immediate threat to risk or risk to health and life and property, or even the environment. And I'm not teaching you anything new today, but we want to, and tomorrow we'll have a more in-depth discussion about what that really means to informing the situation and informing what we do. And we want to analyze that incident to ensure that we're looking at life safety concerns, magnitude of the event, the potential for escalation, and that's key. Oftentimes, having that information will give us a better understanding of whether this particular type of incident is going to escalate, which may require additional resources, may require additional things or additional response posture, not only at the local level, but in your surrounding communities, but even at the state level, because we may end up dealing with multiple incidents across multiple counties in the state of New York. So that potential for escalation is key when analyzing the incident. Local resource utilization. Have we utilized the resources that you have available to you? Has that been maximized? Are there certain types of resources that you need over others that are going to better serve you based on your need, based on the information that's laid out? So that situational awareness really is a core element to any complicated incident response effort. Understanding what is going on, understanding what the potential is, understanding what the exposure already has been is going to better inform all of us so that we can respond most effectively. That information is key. It feeds into the situation. Gathering that information starts to allow us to establish that situational awareness, which is going to lead into decisions that we'll all start to make as to how we're going to deal with the situation. And those decisions are really going to need to be prioritized. We need to have a good prioritization. New York Response is going to allow us to see the incidents, see what's happening in the requests that are going on, but then be able to prioritize that request so that you folks at the local level have a better understanding, real time, as to how the state is going to assist when you put those requests in up to the state level, that you understand the priority and the magnitude of maybe other events that are going on. You'll have that ability to see and do that. And that prioritization, that all feeds into the response, again, at the local level as well as at the state level. And for that matter, at the federal level, if we have an incident that escalates to a greater extent beyond our capabilities. What we really want to focus on is we really need to get away from our open-ended, unsubstantiated requests for resources. We've had that in the past at times in some areas where we need to now hone in and eliminate that. We need to be better informed on the request that's being made so that we can do the work that's necessary for you folks, so that we can provide the right resources, provide the right information, and the right response. We'll identify each specific task that the county is requesting for assistance. I think that's really important to identify and have information behind that request. We'll use detailed information to structure and prioritize the state's response, including asset deployment, what assets and personnel that might be necessary to support the operations. Another big piece of New York Response that we mentioned is going to include state-of-the-art GIS mapping. This is really key, being able to identify and map some of our critical infrastructure, some of our key assets. We also have the ability to utilize GPS to track more than 4,000 assets in our system. All of our stockpile equipment, that our pumps and our light towers and our generators, that's available to the communities during disaster. We have GPS tracking on them, so we have an understanding and visibility of where that equipment is. We also have the ability to, one of the initiatives that we've advanced is for internal to state operations, is to utilize GPS and automatic vehicle locator systems on our Division of Homeland Security Emergency Services response assets and personnel, as well as our Department of Transportation and our Thruway Authority assets, so that we have a better view and a better understanding of where our assets are, so that we also are better and informed to be able to respond and assist you folks at the local level. This common operating picture map that you see before you is a visibility that you will have in some shape or form. It starts to inform you on where critical infrastructure is. It can be narrowed down to even a very local level, a local view, to identify where assets are, where our strategic stockpiles are located. But then you'll also be able to add on there your critical infrastructure. You'll be able to query your hospitals, your long-term care. And we start to formulate that all in one mapping system so that we can have better information. With that, we'll also, and we'll talk a little bit about that, this same map will also provide us the ability to feed in some of that weather information that we're beginning to establish and develop, where we're going to feed these maps so that we can start to do better planning efforts before an incident. What would happen if we had inundation along the Hudson River in this particular area? Do we have critical assets? Do we have critical infrastructure? Do we need to start to do some additional planning efforts? All this information to be able to assist you. Another basis goal of New York Response is, again, to feed in that integrated enhanced weather detection system using the state's new Mesonet system. New York's Mesonet is the largest statewide system in the nation. We're installing 125 sites that are approximately 20 miles apart. Those detection systems will be able to send information every 5 minutes, and it's going to feed weather information into the National Weather Service, as well as into the SUNY Albany's Research Foundation that is developing the program for us in the state of New York and working cooperatively with us to be able to provide modeling and provide information for us to enhance our information here in the state of New York. It's a very sophisticated and advanced system. The state of Oklahoma has a Mesonet system that they use quite regularly. I actually have an app on my phone for the Oklahoma Mesonet so you can see, you can monitor what's going on. It provides a lot of useful information for us at the state level, but it will also provide information for you at the local levels as well. It's going to feed that real-time data to the new upstate New York flood warning system. We've been working very diligently in our Canal Corp to work in the 3 river basins along the canal to add more river and stream gauges to provide better modeling so that we have a better understanding of, as we get this data of all this precipitation and the rates of fall and the rates of the precip, what it's going to do to the canal system to better inform us. We often talk about after Irene, the sun came out that next day. We hadn't had a lot of issues, but then the water, it caught up with us into the canal system. We began to have some historic flooding the next day. We're going to be better informed with this system to have a better understanding of that information utilizing the Mesonet. And again, all of these types of things we'll be talking more. The emergency managers will get more specific information, more in-depth information as we modify and change our protocols and our training and get back out to the communities. We're also going to establish a more formalized statewide communications network, enhance some good work that we've already had, that's already begun in the state of New York to get us into the next century, to get us all communicating at all levels of government, as well as our first responders in the street, the folks that are doing this day in and day out. Because obviously, we all know in a crisis, communication is key. Clear and concise communication, articulating what's going on, getting the information to the right folks that are making decisions, that are managing and dealing with a particular incident. Communications is the key to everything that we do, whether it be during an emergency or whether it's our day-to-day operations. Being able to communicate effectively is huge. We use a mix of communications protocols today, including telephones and radios. We've already spoken about our interoperability at the local level for first responders, but again, we want to enhance that, be able to supplement that even further. We want to have a uniform method for seamless communications across all those levels of government so that we are talking together and we all are on the same page and understand what's happening out there. Today we're announcing a drastic expansion of a new communication tool, MutualLink. Some of you have begun to utilize MutualLink. We've talked about it, but we're advancing a more drastic rollout of MutualLink to provide more opportunity for you folks at the local level to have more access, have additional licenses to the MutualLink application. MutualLink ensures real-time updates are shared across government, integrates video, file sharing, radio and telephone, all in one application. It's something that we can tie all of the means of communications that we're already utilizing into one application at the same time while sharing information. Very valuable tool. Enhances our other forms of communication, such as land mobile radio, interoperability channels, and 911. We can tie things together. Just recently, when Broome County in the village of Johnson City, they had the parking garage collapse. We had a lot of our USAR assets from our Office of Fire Prevention and Control respond, as well as folks from our Office of Emergency Management. And we utilized MutualLink back with the State Watch Center to just share what was really going on, providing that live feed through the iPad, and we were able to tie in radio channels and communicate all in a very consistent manner, and everybody was understand what was going on with the communications. I see it as a very useful tool for us in the future. We'll expand the access from the 6 counties that are currently that we currently have Mutual Link in through all of our counties by the end of the year. This afternoon, for those that are going on to the demonstrations out at the State Office campus and the Emergency Operations Center, we'll have a static display of a lot of our Division of Homeland Security Emergency Services assets. And during that display, we'll be doing some live Mutual Link work where they're actually communicating. We have a number of different agencies that are set up to be part of that demonstration. So you'll be able to talk from out in the field in our units back with the Emergency Operations Center, as well as with some other radio users in some other counties outside the Capital District region that we're going to tie into this demonstration, so folks get a good understanding and feel for what this tool really can do for us. The state will provide the use of New York Response electronic system and training to every county at no cost. This New York Response system is something we're going to roll out to everyone, provide everyone access, and provide detailed training on the system. Actually come out to your communities, provide the training that's necessary on not just the system, but on the protocols and on the operations of the tool and how it will feed into the state of New York. Very, very valuable tool. One of the things that we've been talking about that we'll also do to continue to enhance the use in operations is to establish some working groups and have annual meetings where we're coming together to talk about the use of the tool and how we're operating with it, how we utilize it, and how it can be enhanced to better serve both you at the local level as well as us at the county level. Exciting times for us to be able to do that. We're looking to bring this and make this live by the end of this calendar year. So we have a lot of work to do. We're going to be forging ahead with a lot of stuff as we move on beyond today, but it's, I think it's going to be a very valuable tool for us in the future. New York will have the most comprehensive statewide emergency management system in the nation. The governor has expressed that. He's expressed his appreciation for all of the wonderful work that you folks do on a day in and day out basis. And we want to continue to grow that initiative, to continue to enhance the operations, and to really bring us to the forefront of emergency management here in the state of New York. Thank you. Before I entertain a few questions, I know County Executive Mangano from Nassau County is here. I was wondering if County Executive had a few words he'd like to share with us.
Sure. First, thank you for organizing this forum. Certainly thank the governor. We look forward to the New York response. I think it's a great initiative. I want to thank everybody in this room that's dedicated their lives to emergency preparedness. And certainly we hope no one faces a disaster, a natural disaster, a man-made disaster, but obviously we know all too well that that is a distinct possibility, having lived, at least in my county, through Irene and then Sandy, and yesterday a plane crash. So there's always emergency work to do. I would just say that from my experience, I think that the most important thing is to have a plan. We have our 120-hour plan, and make sure that you execute that plan when you're notified of an impending disaster or weather event. And I think that that was our success in Sandy, communication, executing a plan, and we got through that really with no loss of life. Plenty of property destruction. We learned a big lesson with respect to having assets, and post-Sandy we've now acquired those assets, in particular high-axle vehicles. With respect to rescue was a very challenging fact for us. Our fire departments, our police departments, our emergency management personnel did not have those high-axle vehicles to get into the flooded areas, which created a particular problem. I could talk for now, but I'll limit it to a couple minutes. Post that, then when you move into the recovery mode, we found, and we were left with a significant destruction and a power issue. Obviously, generators were an important issue, portable lighting an important issue, portable traffic lights were essential to secure our roadways and avoid further accidents and death on the roadways. So there was a significant acquiring of assets. Post that, I do want to thank the state, the communication from the governor's office, Homeland Security, Emergency Management, the state police, and all the agencies in the state that work together with our local agencies to, do what we're supposed to do, and that is protect human life as our first priority, which was a great success in Hurricane Sandy and a real story there, no loss of life. As far as assets, again, best practices, review what you needed after each storm and try to acquire those assets, and through cooperation with the state, communication, and certainly now this New York Responds will help us share those assets and help one another get through any event that our individual counties face. So with that, I thank you, very, very much.
Thank you, County Executive. Appreciate the words. You have certainly gone through your share of emergencies, and I know you were engaged yesterday with the event, so thank you very much. Essex Board Chair Fairbury is...
I have a question.
Bill? Oh.
I have one.
Essex Board Chair is going to...
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you. Thanks again for allowing me the opportunity to attend the summit today. It was Irene that really brought my eyes open to the necessity and the need for great communication and our emergency preparedness people and our volunteers. We, in the North Country or in the Adirondacks, we're used to dealing with everything on our own. But as a result of Irene, we really felt that we were being watched over by, Albany, and the governor definitely with his Neighbor Helping Neighbor program, the state police and DEC, and, you can't mention them all because you'll forget somebody. But it's very important, the communication. I think this new program is going to be great. We had a little difficulty locating, generators and potable water and things like that from Irene. So I think this is going to pull all of our assets together. It'll be a lot easier to track down the items that we need. So I'm looking forward to this implementation. I'm really looking forward to the river monitoring system. I know I have been contacted in Essex County for this system, and that'll be a big plus for a lot of our constituents that live along the river. So with that, I'll really keep it short, and we'll allow this to move on. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Chair Farabee, thank you very much. And you can see, the contrast with Nassau County, Essex County. We have a very diverse state with a lot of different exposures, a lot of different situations that may occur to us. So it's very rewarding and helpful and beneficial to have everyone here today to begin working together. And I think we have a couple of questions. Chair Zippelman?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm obviously quite excited to ask my question. The New York Response looks like a great tool, but are we going to be, in addition to looking at being able to see the critical infrastructure, are we going to be able to see power outages during an emergency?
That's a great question. That's part of our common operating picture. A lot of the utilities today have on their websites the ability to show the different power outages. One of the things that our plans are, what we'll be able to do, is integrate that information onto the common operating picture so that not only will you see your critical infrastructure and where situations are occurring or perhaps the potential for flood inundation, but we'll also be able to see the power outages and where there is power out in a particular community, all in one platform rather than going to multiple locations. So we will have that capability, and that is the plan, to provide a more effective one-stop shop for our communities, as well as for us at the state level, monitoring in the Emergency Operations Center. So thank you. Yeah, good question.
Kevin, I have a question.
Commissioner Driscoll.
Can you give us an idea of the types of assets that we have in the strategic stockpile at the moment? Two-part, if I may. Would the thought be, would we pre-stage additional equipment at a particular stockpile in advance of an event, weather or otherwise?
Great. No, good question. So we currently have 9 strategic stockpiles located across the state of New York in strategic areas so that we have our best response time capabilities. Director Malatra showed the slide of our different locations. Some of the assets, some of the main assets that we have in our stockpiles are various size generators, from small generators that can power a small area to very large generators that can power commercial facilities, care facilities that may be necessary. And those are spread out across all 9 stockpiles that we have generators. We have different size pumps so that we can assist in flooding areas. We can assist with DPWs and DOTs locally if they need to have pumps to pump out storm drains, pump out areas of particular neighborhoods. Those are all great assets. We have portable lights, the street lights, not street lights, but the lighting units that we can set up to light up an area that has lost power that we're doing work in at night. We'd be able to light it up. And we have perishable, a large quantity of perishable items that we can utilize also from water and MREs and types of things like that. We've got all the various hoses and equipment that go with all of these, and the wires and cables that go with the generators, and the pumps and the light towers. So we have a lot of different assets that we can utilize. And then we have strategically some of our high-axle vehicles, some of our watercraft are also located at strategic stockpiles across the state. So that's some of the equipment that we have at the stockpiles. One of the part about being better informed, being better prepared, and ready for a situation, especially when we're dealing with the multitude of weather events. And we certainly would, Commissioner Driscoll, start to look to pre-stage equipment in strategic areas, or pre-stage at one particular stockpile from another if that area is going to be strongly impacted, so that we have that additional equipment available and ready to go when a community is faced with a disaster or an emergency. So thank you. Thanks.
Kevin, just a quick question on Mutual Link. Rightly so, you mentioned interoperability is a big issue. With all these disasters, that's what we find, being able to communicate not only with radios, but we've lost phone service and data and everything else. I've seen the Mutual Link tool. I think of a dozen ways how law enforcement could benefit from it. How do you envision using it? Besides local and state government, do you see hospitals, shelters, schools, things like that being on the network?
That's a great question. I think that Mutual Link has limitless potentials. Our role in emergency management is to continue to roll out the Mutual Link to our public safety agencies so that we can be connected. But there is certainly an opportunity locally to be able to bring in universities, to bring in hospitals. We're currently doing a pilot when we first, with the Mutual Link tool in Rockland and Oneida counties, where we installed the tool in 10 public safety agencies as well as 10 schools. So that they could begin to, attempt to work on communications. If a school had a situation where their phone lines were cut, they would still have a communication tool back to the public safety agency that was responding to them. So it's a limitless, I think, on what we can do with this tool. Our vision with the public safety agencies is to ensure that local EOCs have a mechanism to be able to get real-time information from their first responders that may be on the scene back to their EOC through, say, an iPad application, the Mutual Link Edge, so that they're sharing real-time information so that the county EOC is informed in the field of what is going on. And then at the same token, the state will be able to communicate and coordinate back with those county EOCs as well as those first-line responders if necessary, if there's additional information that we're trying to gather. So I think the tool has great potential, and again, it is a tool. It's another tool in our toolbox that we have. So I think it's something that we look forward to rolling out, and hopefully the folks that are going out to Building 22 today will get some good experience with that and get a better understanding of what that really is all about, because we'll be out to the communities to talk more about it. I'm sorry. Is there anybody else have, we'll take a couple of more questions if anyone else has a question at the present time. Brought everybody to their feet. Yes?
Thank you. I found your presentation very helpful. I'm wondering, when you envision doing the training for New York Responds, how do you envision sort of rolling that out? I mean, you talked about doing that at no cost to every county. Is that going to happen by webinar? Is that going to happen in person? What's your process for how that gets rolled out?
Probably a combination of both, actually. We're going to have some sessions that will bring folks into Albany, to the Emergency Operations Center, so that we're actually training on the tool while we're going through practical operations of how it would actually function and how it would all work. We'll look at some, as we move forward, look at some ongoing online type training to refresh people, because I think that's one of the keys with a tool like this, is to be able to ensure, because some of our counties may not have to use a tool like this very often. If they don't decide to use it on a day-to-day basis. So we want to make sure that there's an opportunity to continually refresh training as we turn folks over. So it'll be a combination of on-site training here in Albany, as well as remote training down in the communities, and then some online training also.
And just to be follow up on the disaster land, do you envision that actually replacing the disaster land system?
It's replacing the current system that we're utilizing today. It's really a refreshing and a rebranding of the tool. So it's going to have a new look and feel, a new operation, an operational touch to it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you, Director Malatras, for your presentation. I'd just like to thank personally also Kevin and his staff. Been working very, very hard to really, we're trying to change the paradigm of how we respond here in New York State to emergencies and disasters, and it's a process, and trying to change that paradigm to meet the governor's vision has been a lift for Kevin and his team, and for all of us to work together to try and get that done. So I think we're well on our way. All the disasters, as you well know, are different. They vary in size and scope and issue. So this paradigm has to be adjustable and fluid, but the bottom line is try to enable us to better respond and prioritize to serve the New Yorkers in their time of need, and I think we're well on our way to that. So I appreciate your attention here today. We're going to take a short break. For those who wish to go to the Emergency Operations Center for a tour this afternoon, there'll be buses upstairs on the plaza at 1 o'clock. We'll have some static displays there. There'll also be training here this afternoon. There will be a reception at the Corning Tower at 5 o'clock. You can get the bus from the EOC if you choose to go there, or just attend from here. But I really appreciate your time and effort, and just by the fact that you're here, you care, and that's what we need. We're all in it together, and we thank you very much for your participation today, and take a short break and resume the program later. But thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everybody.